Now, the first semi-final showdown is coming up. It's between Argentina and Croatia. Argentina, favourites going into this one, and there's been a lot of headlines focused on the Albiceleste's celebrations after that penalty shootout win.
The what?
Over the Netherlands.
The Albiceleste, of course.
Albiceleste, explain to me, what the hell is that?
Stuart, their nickname. Stuart Robson, Gemma Soler and Julien Laurent are with us. And I'd like to start, actually, by talking to Gemma, because we did see a very animated Messi afterwards in the mix zone.
Horrible.
Calling out Wout Weghorst. Gemma, you've been in many a mix zone where Lionel Messi's been, all of your time spent covering Barcelona. Have you ever seen him like that?
Really few times, Kay. I think he has that special dirty look that we haven't seen that much lately with Lionel Messi. I've seen that when he faced bitter rivals Real Madrid. I remember especially that 2017 when he showed the T-shirt with that late goal. I have seen that the first time he faced Pep Guardiola as a rival coach with Bayern Munich in that Champions League tie that he trashed Bayern only by himself. That Boateng will remember that iconic match. And I see him doing that again, that dirty look, that, I mean, if you are a rival, don't get Messi angry. I think he's got that competitive gen. He's more Argentinian than ever. I think his heart was somehow divided between Argentina and Barcelona, and now he's 100% Argentinian and becoming every time closer to Maradona, I think.
So when we saw that, a lot of passion in the Argentine side, and there's a lot of talk about how that can bring unity to a team, and it's great to see. Do you see it as a help or a hindrance? Can you be too fired up?
Well, it was almost a hindrance against Holland when they lost the plot. And they did. Paredes, not so much Messi on the field, but one or two others. Maybe more than one or two others. So I bet Wout Weghorst, when he was trudging around at Burnley, never thought he was going to get called out by by Lionel Messi a year or so later. But yeah, they got to harness that in the right way, and I don't think they did. When Scaloni made those substitutions against Holland, when the tide was turning a little bit, the pressure was on, the big guys were up front, they were lumping it forward, they lost it. At one point, they lost it. And, you know, when Paredes slammed the ball into the technical area just after the free kick, and everything was going off. So they have to harness that in the right way. Look, 4 years ago, Croatia hammered them at the World Cup, 3-0. In Russia, but there's only like, I don't know, 3 or 4 players, certainly from the starters, that are left in that Croatia team. But it's still a good side.
You all right with it, Stevie?
No, I think definitely it could affect them. At the start of this tournament, I thought the fact that it was Messi's last World Cup, trying to win it, to become the greatest, everybody comparing him to Pele and Maradona, I thought that was definitely going to help. But I agree with Craig that it did fall apart, and I think a lot of it was to do with it was getting too much. So what's it going to be in the semis? And even if they get to the final, you just think they could implode.
Yeah.
And I think Croatia will have noted that.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, they just do that, don't they?
They do, but they've got a lot of experience in that side, as well as some good younger players that have come through, particularly at the back. And they'll have noted that. And, I mean, Modric and co are not noted for digging people out and winding people up. But when you see that kind of reaction, I think it's part of the armoury, is it not?
Do you think the pressure is getting to Argentina, Jules? Do you think that's what we saw in this game?
I'm not sure so much the pressure, because they were 2-0 up at some point when Paredes came on, and I think it was really Paredes coming on that kicked it all off. And he's got that edge in him. We saw it at PSG. I think he still has that in him, and sometimes you don't really understand why he goes on one like he did, kicking that ball in the Dutch bench, because that's really where it all kicked off. Before that, he was tense, and I was at the stadium, and you could feel the tension. It's normal. It's a quarterfinal of the World Cup. But Paredes kicking the ball into the Dutch bench, then that's where it all like bam exploded completely. And after that, there was just no way back. They went one after the other, and they kept going into duels and challenges. But maybe it's not a bad thing that Argentina have that edge again, because De Paul, Paredes, Otamendi, Lisandro, all of them have that kind of edge. And I guess maybe to win a World Cup, you need at times to be a bit nasty.
No, you need a decent ref. Now, we didn't see one in the England-France game, Lahoz in the Argentina-Holland game was prancing around like there was only one camera at the game and it was on him. I mean, they can't. This needs. I know every big game needs strong refs, but this World Cup semi-final, you know, Croatia have been there recently. Argentina, it's definitely, you'd imagine, Messi's last throw of the dice. They never even thought they would be at this stage after that Saudi Arabia game. So there's going to be a lot of pent-up energy, frustration, passion. I've no idea, as I sit here now, who is reffing it, but as long as it's somebody who can handle it better than the two guys that I mentioned, that's going to be a start.
Can I just be clear here? You know, I agree with everything you're saying, but when I'm talking about the pressure being too much, I'm not talking about, there's nothing wrong with having that savage streak where you want to kick people, you want to fight to win the World Cup. I'm talking about the fact that Messi could win the World Cup and everybody in Argentina, including the 10 players on the field, are with him. That's what may boil over. They might lose the composure because of that. Not because you don't want to fight or run around. You need to compose yourself in times like the last minute against the Dutch. Yes, it's a great free kick, but the fact is, the desire to win, the composure disappeared, which is why they gave the free kick away in the first place. If they can get over that, then they can win it. So
let's talk about the 10 players on the field plus Messi, Stuart. What do you think of those who say Argentina is just an ordinary team with Messi?
I would slightly agree with them. Yeah, obviously Messi is the outstanding player. But when you look at some of their defenders, Lisandro Martinez, I still don't think he's particularly quick. I don't think he's particularly good in the air. I've seen Otamendi play for Benfica a lot this season. He's their weakest player. He's the player that you can run down the side of. And they've got Romero, we know. We're just talking about aggression and going over the top. Romero's one of those sort of players. De Paul, I don't think's played particularly well for Atletico Madrid over his time. Acuna and Molina, the two fullbacks, are they decent? They played in the last game. They're not going to play in this one, I don't think. Alvarez is a good player, but I think they're all about Messi at the moment. And the other players just have to keep their composure, make sure they play with discipline, and be disciplined in their tactical approach and their approach in terms of tackling.
Let's be honest, they're all good players and playing at a good level. Yeah, they're not ham and eggers, but let's be frank about it. Semi-final of a World Cup. If you took Lionel Messi out there and put Joe Bloggs in, you're not exactly running scared of that team, are you?
No.
I mean, you're not. You know, that's not to say they won't go on and win it and be successful, because we see Morocco in the other semi-final and we can see what's possible. But if you take, and obviously we're not taking Lionel Messi out, but if you did, the supporting cast is not exactly gold star.
And of course, Gemma, every player wants to win the World Cup, but these players especially want to win it for Messi too.
Yes, because he has become the leader of that team. He has led them to be successful again with that Copa America that I think at some point it's not comparable to the World Cup, but take a little bit of pressure to this young group where Messi is the absolute leader. I agree that they haven't been able to convince us for 90 minutes in any game, but there is talent there, and I think Scaloni has been flexible enough to change his idea at the beginning to include Enzo Fernandez, El Araña, Julián Álvarez there in the forward line, and they are a very talented group, and I think that making Messi angry, and he's still angry, he will be angry tomorrow, is the worst thing you can do. And yes, okay, all the team surrounding him wants to do this as well for eventually seeing Messi be a world champion.
Croatia force to be reckoned with, though, especially at this level right now. And the fact that if it does go into extra time, you'd say that it probably favoured them, given the fact that they've been able to weather the storm in countless extra times in World Cups of late.
I really don't know, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, that midfield of Brozovic, Kovacic and Modric has been outstanding. Vardiol has been superb alongside Lovren. Juranovic at full-back, Sousa, who came back in after an illness. They've been... and Livakovic in goal. They really are missing. I mean, the key ingredient for them is they've struggled a bit through the middle up front, and they've made some changes there. They don't have, obviously, a Mandzukic anymore, and they have shuffled it around a little bit. But yeah, I mean, when you can control the middle of the park, and I think they're stronger in the middle, Stevie, than Argentina.
Aye.
Yeah?
Absolutely. Yeah. I agree with everyone, particularly with the ball. I'm shocked. Every time they start a game, I'm shocked he's in the team. De Paul for Argentina. I mean, how many of the Argentinian midfield would get in that team? I don't think in the middle of the park. I don't think any of them would. In fact, the majority, if you were picking a side between the two of them, I would suggest there would be probably more Croatian players in it.
Yet everybody is picking Argentina.
Because of one guy.
Because of the... It is because...
Is it because of that one guy, Jules, that you've gone for Argentina?
Yeah, I think so. I've seen them play live now 4 times, I think, in this World Cup, and every time you think, okay, he can't do it again. It's not possible. Not at 35. Not when everybody knows that he still has magic in his feet and he finds some way, a way of doing it and impacting the game, like we saw against the Dutch in that first goal, where the reverse no-look pass for Molina is just out of this world. So, of course, you have to go for Argentina just for Messi.
And if we do talk about Messi with Argentina, Stuart, we're often hearing just Luka Modric with Croatia, but it's hard not to talk about him, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, he plays a free role almost. He play in front of the other two, Brozovic and Kovacic, who Craig was talking about. But I think they're key player in terms of attacking sense because they struggle in the centre-forward position. There's no doubt about it, whether it's Kramaric or Petkovic playing up front. They struggle there. The player that can still cause problems when they go down the right-hand side is Perisic coming round the back. If they can get deep crosses into that far post, he's the main threat, I think, for Croatia. But Modric is the one that pulls the strings. And if the game is played at a slow tempo, that's what Croatia want. They did it against Brazil. They controlled the midfield. They kept the ball. They frustrated Brazil. And Brazil didn't play the right sort of game. Maybe Argentina will play at a higher tempo, be more intense with their closing down and make it more difficult for the likes of Modric.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.